Hey everybody, today on Political Access, we've got another 2024 matchup. This time it's going to be Jared Polis for the Democrats, governor of Colorado, up against Kim Reynolds for the Republicans, governor of Iowa. And this is another one suggested to me in the comments. Should be a fun one. We've got two governors here. They're a little bit more low-key than some other governors, but it is going to come down to the usual handful of states. So let's get started. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. Alaska is the first state. That is going to be over 10 points, safe for Kim Reynolds. Hawaii, that's easy. That's going to be safe for Jared Polis. Now we go back up to the West Coast. We've got Washington, Oregon, California. Those are blue states, and those are going to be safe for Polis. Now let's get into Nevada. This would be a competitive swing state. I think Jared Polis would be a little bit better fit here. I could be wrong, but I do have this going to Polis by low single digits, maybe even only 1 to 2 points. Leans for Polis. Idaho, Utah, safe for Reynolds. Let's go to Arizona. This is also a competitive swing state, drifting away from the Republicans. They like the establishment there. Kim Reynolds, she's going to try to bridge that gap. I don't think she would be viewed as controversial as some hardcore Trump-aligned candidates, so I do have her flipping it back very narrowly by a tilt margin. Montana, Wyoming, safe for Reynolds. Colorado, Jared Polis' home state. It frequently goes safe even without Polis on the ballot, but with Polis on the ballot, he is definitely going to win that by over 10 points, probably even over 15. Next state, New Mexico. That is going to be likely for Polis. North Dakota, South Dakota, safe for Reynolds. Nebraska at large, safe for Reynolds. How about the 2nd District? This one would be close. That's the Omaha District. It does border Iowa, where Kim Reynolds is from. That could help slightly, but it is a much bluer district than the rest of the state, and eventually you have to make a decision, and I settled on a tilt for Polis. Kansas, Oklahoma, safe for Reynolds. Down in Texas, that's usually likely for the Republican, and that's what it's going to be this time, likely for Reynolds. Minnesota, that's usually likely for the Democrat, and this time it's going to be likely for Polis. Now we've got Kim Reynolds' home state of Iowa. I don't think her appeal would translate too much north into Minnesota, but in her home state, she would get a few extra points than a normal Republican, and that would cross into double digits, so it's safe for Reynolds. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, safe for Reynolds. Now we've got Wisconsin. This is another state. It does border Iowa. Probably not a big deal. Maybe it helps Reynolds slightly on the margins. I think this would be a very competitive state. You've got Dane County, Milwaukee County. Ton of the population is there, and it's deep blue. A lot of the rest of the state is red, but not all of it, and it's not all deep red. I think there's a little bit more Republican vote that could be squeezed out. Even if the wild counties around Milwaukee are trending toward the left, I have this going to Reynolds by a tilt margin. Illinois, safe for Polis. Next state, Michigan. It's a Rust Belt state. It's always hard to predict the margins in these states. It's a little bit bluer than Wisconsin. I have it going to Polis by a lean margin. Indiana, safe for Reynolds. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, safe for Reynolds. Let's go down to Florida. The Sun Belt was a little bit tough for me to predict both of these candidates. I have it going Republican. The margin I'm not sure of. I'm not sure if Reynolds is really going to be all that appealing here. Polis I don't think would be a complete wipeout here either, so I went with a leans for Reynolds. Could be 4 to 5 points. Now let's go to Georgia. This is the state that gave me the most trouble. The Atlanta suburbs. Could Kim Reynolds turn the tide, stop the leftward trend a little bit while turning out the Trump vote in the red counties? It's possible. The trends are not with the Republicans here at all. It would all come down to the national environment, and it was a red state up until not that long ago, and I sat on it for a while. In the end, I went with a tilt for Reynolds. South Carolina, safe for Reynolds. North Carolina leans for Reynolds. Ohio, that's going to be likely for Reynolds. West Virginia, safe for Reynolds. Let's go to Maine at large. That is going to be likely for Polis. The 1st District, that's deep blue. That's safe for Polis. The 2nd District, that's more Trump-friendly. That's going to be leans for Reynolds. Now we've got New Hampshire. This is going to go toward the Democrat. That's the easy call. And the margin is probably going to be debatable. I think mid-single digits, but I went with a leans for Polis. Now we've got the blue states. Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. all safe for Polis. Now we've got to go to Pennsylvania. This I think would be close. Long story short, I went with a tilt for Polis. And the last state is Virginia, and I think this would be over 5 points. likely for Jared Polis. And there's your final map. It's a close one. 272 for Kim Reynolds, 266 for Jared Polis. This is basically a coin flip. If you have Polis winning this, I completely understand. As I said, the national environment would be a significant factor. The big issues at the time, the running mate, all that stuff matters. As for charisma, I don't think Kim Reynolds has too much, but she might appeal a little bit more to suburban women. That's always talked about as a key demographic, so there are some places that could help her by a couple of points. Suburbs around Atlanta, Arizona, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Milwaukee, places like that. Jared Polis might do better with independents. That's going to keep him right in this race, and he could potentially win. There's a lot of close states on here. It's hard to predict the Rust Belt, but also Arizona, Nevada, Georgia. Those are difficult states as well. I think Polis is a more under-the-radar, probably also underrated candidate. He's not known nationally super well, but I suspect if he got out there, ran a national campaign, he would be competitive. It's possible he clashes a little bit with progressives while trying to court the establishment. Of course, Reynolds is going to have to do the same thing. She cannot alienate the Trump base, but she also has to cozy up a little bit to the establishment, and both of them are going to have to answer questions about all the key issues at the time: guns, abortion, immigration, crime, education, etc. So I think this would be a great battle, and I think it could go either way. I don't think Reynolds is some super strong candidate, but Polis is an interesting Democrat. He could be stronger than it seems, or maybe he ends up falling flat, and Reynolds is way stronger than I think. It's all a possibility. Reynolds would probably be better suited a little bit more as a running mate, but who knows? This is just what I came up with. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about these two going at it? Would Polis be able to flip Wisconsin, Arizona, or Georgia? What do you think about their personalities? Let me know your thoughts down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video.